So me, 28-year-old, and my girlfriend, 34-year-old, have been together for about 3.5 years now. Things have been wonderful, all things considered. We shared a lot of the same hobbies, we were open to trying new things together, we traveled together, we often read books together, we did a lot together, but we were in a long-distance relationship this whole time. We've had many talks about the future and our visions seemed to align. We had plans of moving in together later this year. She even started looking for apartments in her area for us since she knows the area well, despite expressing hesitation about moving in earlier in our relationship. We talked about things like getting married and having children. Before we were dating, she was against it. But once she met me, and I expressed that's what I wanted, she became much more excited by the idea. Everything changed a little over a week ago when she told me she wanted to talk about something when I came to see her, as we had planned to go on a hike with some of her friends. When we talked, she told me that there is something missing from our intimacy life. She wants to practice more domination play, something she's mentioned before, and for me to be more vocal, and that she feels somewhat unsatisfied by our intimacy life now. No problem to me. We don't see each other that often, and we're about to move in together. We can work on that when we see each other more often. Then she drops this on me. While staying with some friends for an anime convention, she did coke and watched two of her friends have intimacy, and it really turned her on. Now, the news about the coke was shocking, but I've tried it before. It doesn't bother me too much. I kinda just wish we tried it together for her first time. But what did bother me was that apparently there was another guy in the room, and her friends felt comfortable enough to just have intimacy with her in the room. All of this made me very upset, and I left her place and went for a drive. I just felt weird about her feeling comfortable enough to watch her friends, especially the guy, since she has mentioned him coming to the gym with her friend group, and them being cool about all of this. Just rubbed me the wrong way. Anyway, I come back and we talk it over, and she mentions wanting to go on a break. When I confront her and say a break means a breakup to me, she starts crying and saying she doesn't want to lose me. I don't want to lose her either. I really love this woman, but I felt odd about the whole situation. That night we had intimacy, and I tried to be more vocal and rough with her. She seemed to enjoy it, and we both orgasmed. The next day, I contemplated if I still wanted to go on this hike, having some confusing feelings about the whole interaction. She said she hoped I would, and I decided to. On the drive to the hiking spot, we reaffirmed our love and commitment to one another. We held hands all day, were affectionate in front of everyone, like things were back to normal. That was until we were walking back to the car. She then tells me that she wants a break. I confirm that she knows a break means a breakup to me, and she confirms and agrees that's what she meant. She cries and tells me she loves me, that it isn't me, it's her, all of that stuff. When I ask her if she wants to pursue other relationships, she says no. We drive back and don't say much since I had to ride with her friends in the car with us, which further upset me. When we get back to her house, I say some not nice things and really just express how hurt I was. We were so good for each other, and she just ended it like it was nothing. She didn't give me a timeline for the break, but it's been about a week and I really miss her. We had a camping trip planned for next week, so I'm still gonna go, but I'll just go by myself. I still don't fully understand why we went on a break though. I wanted to give her some space. Because she seemed to be navigating some difficult emotions. I figured after 3 weeks, I'd reach out and see where she was mentally. To me, our relationship seems salvageable, but has anyone ever taken a break like this and come back from it? I just don't know if I can trust her after ending things so abruptly, especially when it felt like we were about to take the next step together. No, I don't think she cheated, but I do question how appropriate the relationship with these friends is. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. She told me she didn't want to date anyone, but we are considered broken up. You have been put into the backup position. She's going to do whatever she wants, but would appreciate it if you would not see anyone and keep your life on hold until she is 100% sure. Is there anything she could say at this point? where you would feel good about being with her again? Think about it. Move on. Comment 2. She wants a break so she can go engage in relationships with other people. And you are plan B if she can't find somebody who would actually want her. Just focus on you. A 34-year-old woman should not be this confused about what she wants. Now, for the update. A few days after the breakup, I went on the camping trip I had planned a while back. Alone. I just needed to clear my mind, even though I wasn't sure if that was possible. The first day was rough. I spent my time hiking and fishing, thinking about our relationship and all the stuff that went down recently. Honestly, I felt like I was in a fog the whole time, like I was just going through the motions. I missed her like crazy. I missed us. On the second day of camping, I got a text from Olivia asking how I was doing. Part of me was surprised she reached out. We hadn't talked since our breakup, like 5 days ago. We exchanged a few messages where she said she missed me and hoped I was okay. I told her I was doing all right, even though I was probably lying. That was the first time since the breakup that I felt like maybe we could get through this. After getting home, I decided to reach out to her to check in. I figured it couldn't hurt, right? We ended up talking on the phone for over an hour. It was nice to hear her voice, even if it made me feel all sorts of things. She mentioned wanting to meet up to talk about things in person. I was a little nervous about that, but also hopeful. We arranged to meet at a local diner where we used to go often. That place held a lot of memories for us, both good and bad. During the meeting, Olivia brought up her feelings of confusion and frustration. She talked about how she felt like she was in a different place in her life than when we first got together. The conversation quickly turned tense when she mentioned her friends' opinions. That's when I started to feel that familiar knot in my stomach. She revealed that her friends had encouraged her to explore more of her desires and experiences. I don't know why, but hearing that made me feel uncomfortable. I questioned the influence her friends had on her. It felt like they were trying to control her life or something. Olivia insisted it wasn't about wanting to be with anyone else, but about wanting to explore herself. This led to a heated discussion about trust and boundaries. I asked her if she was still in contact with the friends who had influenced her. She mentioned attending a party last weekend where one of her friends was present. My heart sank when she said that. I felt uneasy as she described the party. It sounded wild and chaotic, just the kind of thing I didn't want to picture her doing. I asked if anything inappropriate happened, and she brushed it off as harmless fun. After the diner meet, I noticed she was posting more on social media. At first, I was happy to see her, but then it started to bother me. I stumbled upon a photo of Olivia at another party with the same friends. The caption mentioned a crazy night and included a suggestive emoji. That was when I decided to confront her about it. I ended up calling her, leading to another intense phone call. She claimed it was just a joke and that she was trying to embrace her freedom. I didn't know what that meant, but it made me feel more distant. I started questioning her intentions and whether she was really ready for a relationship. We both agreed to take time apart again, but I felt conflicted about it. I didn't want to lose her, but I also didn't want to be in a situation where I was constantly worried about what she was doing. A week later, I got a message from her friend asking if I had seen Olivia recently. I replied that I hadn't. Her friend hinted that Olivia had been out a lot. That's when my concerns deepened. I learned they were planning a trip together. I confronted Olivia about the trip, and she insisted it was just a fun getaway with friends. But I wasn't buying it. Olivia became defensive, insisting that it was not a big deal and that I was overreacting. I wasn't sure if I was overreacting or not. During this time, I saw Olivia's social media posts showing her at events with other guys. It felt like she was trying to move on, and I didn't know how to deal with that. I felt a mix of anger and confusion. Eventually, I decided to go to a mutual friend's birthday party where Olivia would be present. I thought maybe seeing her in person would help me figure things out. At the party, I noticed her laughing and flirting with one of her friends. I couldn't help but feel a pit in my stomach. The tension escalated when I confronted her about what I had seen online. She responded that she wasn't cheating, but was trying to find herself. We ended up in a heated argument, drawing attention from friends around us. The night ended with both of us storming off in opposite directions. It felt like we were stuck on this roller coaster that just wouldn't end. Mini update: after the party, I decided to take a break from everything, including social media. I needed time to think without distractions. Olivia and I have been out of contact since then. Am I the idiot for suggesting a break after my husband said he doesn't want kids with me because of my personality? Am I the idiot for telling my husband to get his attitude together by December? My husband, 30-year-old male, and I, 30-year-old female, recently were talking about many of our friends having children. We've been married for almost 8 years, and we've always been excited about having our own children. When we talked about us having children anytime soon, he said he didn't want children with me. I thought I misheard and asked what he meant, and he explained the postpartum hormonal personality changes that occur and how much his friends hate living with their spouses now. I agreed it is difficult and spent some time thinking about how nice being child-free is. Maybe we would discuss this again in another year or two. I brushed off any of this being personal, but some of our friends and family have been asking about when we're having children. His sister was visiting a few weeks ago, and she brought it up, saying their dad had been asking. Before I could say anything, he said we weren't having kids. She asked why, and he said verbatim, "I don't want to have children with me." She and I both didn't say anything, and then he went into his hormone personality explanation and how he already has to put up with my personality and doesn't want it to get worse. Having children isn't a relationship breaker for me, but his response is confusing. There are reasons I wouldn't want to have children with him, but I wouldn't say it to him or to his friends and family. And I think we could work through any issues regarding personality or behavior. Has anyone else had a spouse say this? And if so, how have things worked out? To clarify, we've always discussed having children. Our most recent conversation about actually having children was a couple months ago, where he suddenly changed his mind. Now for an update. Wow, did not expect this much input. Thank you for those who contributed. To hit some points. Yes, I'm the primary breadwinner. His income is a quarter of what I make. No, I don't have any diagnosed issues. Any behavioral or personality issues I was referring to were things like him not helping take care of our dog, irritability when asked to help around the house, etc. I consider myself to be fairly level-headed and him to be honest. And I'm sure I have my fair share of blind spots for myself. Yes, this comment was shocking when he stated it the first time. I just shut down, and the second time, I was embarrassed and wasn't sure how to bring it up again. Obviously, it's been sitting with me since it was said. When I said I could come up with reasons not to have children with him, I was referring to things like not splitting household chores evenly, not because I hated him. I've been excited about having children since I was in high school, and he was excited too up until this last year. Like we literally have had names picked out for several years. But I've also been enjoying being child-free. That's why I could go either way. It was more why he said it that confused me, I suppose. We sat down after work and had a talk. He completely broke down and said he's been spiraling toward a midlife crisis since he turned 30 in February, and he's been taking it out on me because he's frustrated with himself and feels like a failure, career-wise. This is all clicking into place because he also dropped a few thousand on a new computer, spontaneous weekend trips, and binge-watching eating/gaming every night and weekend, which is all out of character for him. I'm encouraging him to go to therapy, only so this doesn't escalate into a full-blown crisis, whatever that looks like. I've also asked him to get his attitude/together semi by December, so we can revisit what our life may or may not look like together, since what he said was incredibly hurtful and has had me doubting so many things about us. Sorry to disappoint with such an underwhelming confrontation. Yes, I realize what he said is a major red flag, but also, it really was confusing since it seemed to come out of nowhere. Just wish I had confronted it earlier. I really appreciate all who put in comments for an affair. That thought hadn't even crossed my mind and is now on my radar. If that does occur somewhere in this mess, I'll update. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Contempt is one of the indicators of divorce, and this is a pretty damning display of it. Do you really want to stay in a relationship with someone who doesn't like you and tells people as much? Source. Comment 2. I like this phrase: when someone shows you over and over again who they really are, believe them. He has shown you he doesn't like you. He barely tolerates you. Leave this man. He's the type of guy who would joke about how much he hates his wife for everyone to hear. Now for the update. My husband and I have been married for 8 years. We both happily lived the child-free life, but I was excited to start a family with my husband. A month after the serious talk, my husband seemed to improve slightly, but there were still moments when he'd be irritable. We went to a family barbecue at his parents' place to celebrate his dad's retirement. It was all good until his sister brought up her kids and started asking when we were having kids. My husband bluntly said again that he didn't want kids, and I felt so embarrassed in front of the family. I tried to change the subject, but his sister kept pressing, asking if he was scared of being a father. Things got awkward, and my husband snapped at her, telling her to mind her own business. I felt so humiliated, and I noticed family members exchanging uncomfortable glances. After the barbecue, I confronted him about his behavior and asked why he was still so defensive. He claimed he was just tired from work, but I found that hard to believe given how he'd been acting. A week later, we went to a wedding where most of our friends had kids. My husband's mood soured as we watched our friends chase after their toddlers. He made a dismissive comment about how kids ruin everything, and I felt so frustrated. During the wedding, I tried to talk to him about our future, but he totally shut down. On the way home, we got a flat tire, but he didn't want to help fix it. I had to change the tire while he sat in the car scrolling on his phone. I felt resentful and alone in our relationship. A few days later, I found out he spent a lot on a gaming console without talking to me first. When I confronted him, he said it was a necessary purchase for stress relief. He also mentioned that he didn't need my permission for discretionary spending. I realized we had different views on finances, especially since I had been the primary breadwinner for years. A critical moment came when we went to a family dinner at my parents' house. During dinner, my dad casually asked when we were planning to have kids, and my husband got defensive. He loudly declared he wasn't ready for kids, which shocked me and my parents. I felt my face get hot as my parents exchanged worried looks. After dinner, my mom asked if everything was okay, and my husband brushed it off, saying it was just a joke. I was left to explain to my parents that it wasn't a joke, and I felt the weight of their disappointment. The next weekend, we had a planned getaway, but my husband canceled at the last minute, saying he had work. I went alone, feeling like I was trying to hold on to our relationship while he was drifting away. At the getaway, I ran into an old friend who was happily married with kids, and it made me reflect on my own situation. I returned home feeling more isolated, and it led to a confrontation with my husband about our future. He admitted he didn't think he was ready for a serious commitment like kids, which was what I'd been hoping would change. I felt defeated and suggested we take a break to reassess our relationship. He agreed, but later revealed he had been considering moving out temporarily. I found out from a mutual friend that he had been spending time with a coworker who had a child. This left me feeling betrayed, as I never imagined he'd seek comfort elsewhere. Edit. My husband and I are both 30 years old. We got married at 22 and have been living child-free happily. After the last incident with my parents, I felt things were changing between us. Although he claimed he was just friends with the coworker, spending time with someone else like that hurt deeply. Am I the idiot for calling out my husband for caring more about money than my cancer diagnosis? Am I the idiot for telling my husband to stop worrying about money when I might have cancer? I went to the doctor this morning as I've had shoulder scapula pain for almost 2 years now, and I've been to physios, osteos, massage therapists, and they couldn't figure it out or put it down to a pinched nerve. This morning I went to the GP, and they found a 7-centimeter lump on my scapula. I've been referred for an ultrasound and, if needed, biopsy. When I returned home with the news, my husband responded to this with, "Well, how much money is this going to cost?" I am so stressed about money right now. You don't realize how stressed I am about money, and your appointments have already cost so much. I don't really have many friends. All I have is my husband and 4-year-old daughter. I'm feeling so alone right now and worried about the results. I feel like my husband doesn't care about whether I live or die, and he is putting pressure on me about money, so I am worried about going to the ultrasound appointment because of how much it will cost. I don't know where to go from here, and just need advice on what to do next. I think I can maybe get the appointment bulk billed. I'm in Australia, but not sure how to go about this. Does anyone have any advice on how to deal with this? I'm feeling so alone right now. To add, for people who are calling me disgusting and saying this post is fake, here's the referral. And thanks for making me feel like shoot even more. Didn't know that could happen after everything today. But on the other side of things, and most important side of things, I should be focusing on. Thank you everyone who has been so supportive and sent through information to help. I can't believe how many comments this has got. I'm trying to read through them all, and thank you for the supportive messages. It means so much to me, and I feel like I'm not so alone. Thank you so much. Now for a small update. My husband just came into my room after I'd been out all day and verbatim said him, "Have you been crying? Did something happen while you were out today?" No, I'm still upset about what happened this morning with the doctor. I don't understand. Well, the doctor told me I have a 7-centimeter lump on my scapula. Remember I told you this morning? You were going off about the cost of it. You saw the referral and we discussed it. Do you not understand how someone would be upset by that? I was not going off. What? You said I was going off about money? I was not going off about money. But you were talking about money. You were only mentioning money when I told you about the lump. Yeah, but you said I was going off about money, not just talking about it. Me, if you don't want to talk about the actual issue here, then please leave me alone. I'm really not feeling great. Whatever. Leaves the room. Still not sure what to make of this one. He always is focused on semantics to try and make issues my fault, and also denies saying things that he literally said a second ago. It's really hard, but I am pretty sure what I need to do. If this lump turns out to be malignant, then I am a bit scared of going through it without support, but I don't think the support will be there either way, so. Now, for another update. So, I wasn't sure how to go about this in terms of updating, so I'm just adding it to my original post. I hope that's okay. So after the terrible chat me and my husband had in the previous small update, he came back into the room about 2 hours after to talk. He said he didn't want to fight about this, and could he give me a hug? I said to pause for a minute and explained how much he hurt me with his reaction, etc. He tried to interrupt a couple of times on the defense, but I shut it down to keep to the issue. I then said if he kept focusing on semantics in discussions and veering away from the topic, then it will get us nowhere. To which he said he gets defensive because he thinks I'm painting a bad picture of him. And I said, but that's the reality of what happened, and if he behaves in a bad manner, then he needs to take responsibility for that. He agreed he will move forward and try to stay on the issue more in the future. Today he's been slightly better. I could use a bit more support with our daughter, but I'm taking what I can right now. I certainly haven't forgotten how he reacted at the start, and am struggling to forgive his actions, but trying to just remain sane until this is all over. Oh, and good news. I was able to find an appointment for my scan on Monday. Given it's a 3-hour drive, but willing to make the trip so I can get answers sooner. My husband said he will drive me and he wants to come to the appointment to support me, so I am glad to have that support. Now we wait for Monday, the results to come back. I know if they say they need to do a biopsy after the scan, I am going to be freaking out. But hopefully it all turns out okay. I will update. Thank you so much, everyone. Your support has been amazing. I'm so glad I posted here. I feel like I have people I can turn to, and I'm so grateful for the kindness and help everyone has been able to provide. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Step 1. Get treated by your doctors, sparing no expense. Step 2. Leave husband for literally not fulfilling his vows of sickness and health, and richer or poorer. Step 3. Live the best life, showing your daughter how to care for herself and only allow those who love her around. Comment 2. Obviously, your husband is a massive prick. You are in Australia though, and this probably won't cost anything. My girlfriend went through it recently, and we haven't paid a cent for anything except parking. Now, for the update. 2 weeks after the last update, I got the results from the scan. Not the news I was hoping for. The results showed the lump was not benign, needing more treatment. I called my husband to share the news, hoping for some support. Instead, he asked about the financial implications instead of my health. Like, really? I felt super frustrated, but tried to stay calm. We had a family dinner planned that weekend for my parents' wedding anniversary. My parents were excited to see their grandkids and celebrate together. During dinner, my dad talked about how proud he was of our family unity. My husband, in a lighthearted moment, joked about how we handle tough situations. My brother Jake mentioned his wife Rachel's pregnancy and how thrilled they were. Then Jake asked if we were planning to have more kids anytime soon. I tried to keep the mood light and made a joking comment about needing to focus on health first. My husband gave me a look that I couldn't figure out, but it felt off. The conversation shifted to family vacations, and my dad asked about our plans. My husband said we were saving for something important, avoiding details. After dinner, the kids were sent to play in another room. My mom and dad pulled me aside to express their concern for my health. They mentioned how they noticed the tension and wanted to help. I tried to brush it off, saying we were managing. My husband overheard and chimed in, saying we were fine, just focused on finances. This led to my parents looking worried, which made me feel defensive. I excused myself to the bathroom, needing a moment to collect myself. While in the bathroom, I overheard my husband discussing my health with my dad. He downplayed my condition, calling it a temporary setback that we would manage. After dinner, my parents suggested we all go out for ice cream. I declined, feeling overwhelmed and needing space. My husband insisted we join, saying it was a family tradition. At the ice cream shop, my husband kept making jokes, trying to lighten the mood. We returned home and the tension was obvious. Later that night, my husband confronted me about my mood. He accused me of being dramatic and ruining the evening. The next morning, I found a message from the hospital about scheduling a biopsy. I debated whether to tell him or keep it to myself. Ultimately, I decided to share the news, hoping for a better reaction. He shrugged it off, saying we'd deal with it later. Edit. I had the biopsy and learned that the lump is cancerous. It's stage 2 and needs immediate treatment. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.